the Cuckoo box, the SpaceX built and flew up. That communicates with its partner box on the Dragon, and so we made sure that was working correctly on the space station side. John mentioned that we gathered some relative navigation data, so it's very important for us tomorrow to make sure that relative navigation, we call it our GPS, data is accurate. We did not use it for navigating today as we flew under, but we gathered data, and there's a team of experts at NASA and SpaceX, actually as we speak, pouring through that data to make sure it's all working correctly for when we need it tomorrow as we approach closer into the space station. And so that's a component that's very important to us, that we go through that thorough review and understand that tomorrow when we do use that capability, that the navigation will work correctly. Let's see, you asked too, what else was going on today? So one thing was the data review. The Dragon will perform a series of burns as it goes around the space station. So the joint operations between the control team, operations team here and in Hawthorne, again, continues all on the next 2 shifts before we report back for duty tomorrow. Again, just making sure that the Dragon can end up in exactly the right place to start the rendezvous tomorrow. The crew for the rest of the day today will be continuing on with their preparation. They've got some conferences to understand and get ready for the Dragon cargo operations, which of course is one of the primary objectives of this test, of this demonstration flight, to bring up and show that the crew can transfer cargo in and out of Dragon. And so they'll be doing some preparation for that activity, those activities later in the week and into next week for the rest of their day on orbit today. And I think your final question was berthing time. So I mentioned earlier, capture was going to be roughly 700, and I'm doing it in Central Daylight Time. Berthing's 10:30. It's right about 10:30 Central Time is where it's timeline, and of course it can move a little bit earlier or later depending on how much time we need to evaluate the spacecraft as it sits below station in that R-bar location. But 10:30 is a rough nominal time.
Thank you.
All right, Irene Klotz with Reuters.
Thanks, Josh. I had a couple questions for John. First of all, is your title also a flight director, or what's the SpaceX designation for you? And also, was there anything in the test today that you're going to use to tweak anything for tomorrow?
Certainly. So first at SpaceX, we use the term mission director, and I'm the lead mission director for the Dragon C2 Plus mission. We use the term mission director just to distinguish between mission and flight director calls while we're on communications with them, with NASA. Secondly, there's nothing that we would necessarily tweak. One thing, because Cuckoo closed so far out, I'm feeling very confident that some of our contingency procedures that we were looking to do were to getting closer will not be necessary. So Dragon looks good, and we don't expect any tweaking.
Thanks. And the other question I had is just kind of a technical curiosity about why you use the video system connected to a thermal imager, what that gives you beyond optical spectrum. Thank you.
Oh, certainly. So we actually have a number of video cameras on Dragon as well as 2 thermal imagers. We have 2 video cameras that point out at each solar array. We use that to check out the arrays as well as get some pretty stunning views of the Earth. And I believe we'll be posting those. And then we have a 3rd camera that's inside the capsule itself. So when the crew ingresses Dragon, we'll be able to get some pretty good video of that. The 2 thermal imagers are part of our proximity system. So we use the thermal imagers in coordination with our 2 LiDARs to give us exact range and range rates to the International Space Station as we're approaching from the R-bar, as Holly had mentioned. Because they're thermal imagers, we're able to hook them up via video switch to also get video from them. So it's kind of a bonus. There's no technical reason why we need infrared video coming to the ground.
Okay, I guess that's it from Irene. James D. in Florida Today.
Hi, thanks very much. John, a couple of questions. I think we've seen, obviously, a number of vehicles come and go from the station. Could you just remind us why, from your perspective, if you're able to berth, it would be such a big deal and such a historic event?
Certainly. There are a number of unique items of Dragon that other vehicles don't have, the biggest one being our ability to return large amounts of cargo from orbit. With the retirement of the shuttle, now there's only one other vehicle, the Soyuz, the crew-carrying Soyuz, that can return mainly crew members and a small amount of cargo back to Earth. So Dragon has a very significant amount of cargo it can bring back. Furthermore, after this mission, we're on contract for at least 12 more missions to the International Space Station. And so we're looking to provide regular services, again, kind of at a faster rate than some of the other vehicles.
Thanks. And is it fair to say that your activity tomorrow is much more difficult than what you went through today? Obviously, understanding that you had to get through these steps first, but I mean, looking to what's next, is the Dragon maneuvers, do they require much more precision, and are they more challenging to the software systems that you spend so much time working on, or could you sort of characterize that?
Yeah, I'd say generically speaking, it is definitely a more intense day tomorrow. Flyby today allowed us to check out a lot of systems and retire a lot of risk for tomorrow's flight. We were also able to get some additional objectives where we powered up the LiDARs and the thermal imagers, which we use for very close range navigation to the space station, and those checked out good. So again, we retired a lot of risk for tomorrow, but just like what you said, there's more fine maneuvering. Dragon has a lot of automatic systems on board to protect station and Dragon itself from if we see a malfunction. We haven't seen anything that would require those right now. But it is the first time we're using them, so it is a test flight, and we are being cautiously optimistic.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, James. Last one, Jay Barber with NBC. Jay, are you there? Okay. Are there any follow-ups here in Houston? Anybody? Okay. Before we step away, let's take a look at the remainder of our programming schedule for NASA television. We will have ISS update later on today at 10 o'clock at the top of the hour, 10 Central, 11 o'clock Eastern. We will return bright and early tomorrow morning at 1 a.m. Central Time, 2 a.m. Eastern Time for live coverage of the grapple and berthing of Dragon, and we will stay on the air throughout the entire operation. At noon Central Time, we'll have a mission status briefing to take a look at the day's activities and how things have gone. And then on Saturday morning, we will be on the air at 4:30 a.m. Central Time, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Time for coverage of the hatch opening. And then later on that day at 10:25 a.m. Central Time, 11:25 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll have a crew news conference with some members of Expedition 31 as they talk about their experiences and their reflections of the milestone of this mission. So that'll wrap it up for us. As a reminder, ISS Update is up next here on NASA Television at the top of the hour, 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We thank you for joining us.
Science, technology, innovation, education. That's what NASA's all about. NASA Television brings you the universe like no one else can. NASA TV's public and media channels are delivered as a free service in high definition to your cable and satellite provider. Our education